We just started making noise right when we went live. Coming up there. Let's go. We're starting the show. There's nowhere for you to go, my friend. Hey, not the keyboard, buddy. Not the keyboard. Not the keyboard. All right, the little dude says it's time to go. Let's get going.
GearWebsites.com is your source for firearms-based playing cards and books. We also have mugs, shirts, and posters with designs that we've made live. Of course, we have patches. Every Friday is Free Patch Friday. We appreciate your support. Thank you for shopping at GearWebsites.com.
All right, welcome everybody. Let's play this, I guess. Well, yeah, I'll play this.
It's 11:59 at Radio Free America, and this is Uncle Sam with music and the truth until dawn. Right now, I got a few words for some of our brothers and sisters in the occupied zone. The chair is against the wall. The chair is against the wall. John has a long mustache. John has a long mustache. It's 12 o'clock, Americans, another day closer to victory. And for all of you out there on or behind the lines, this is your song.
I thought that said two-way puppy in the streets. Now I get it. You want him to get some kind of treats. I think that's what he's figured out because he came running over here as soon as he could tell the show was getting ready to start. I don't know if it's his internal clock, knows that we're supposed to be doing a show right now, or I know when he hears the gear website's commercial, he comes running over here because he thinks it's time for a show, and he knows his role in the show. But his little place isn't here right now, so he's freaking out, not having a place to sit. And eventually he'll get sick of this and get put down. But for now, it's just me and the little baby co-host, the little cuddly co-host today, and no Clover. Hold them upside down and see how long this lasts. So we're doing an Ask Me Anything. I just set this up moments ago, so we'll see who else shows up. It'll probably just be quote-unquote regulars because other people aren't going to care to ask me questions about anything, and other people aren't going to know that the show goes live right now, except for people that show up normally. So if there are any questions, feel free to ask them. These Ask Me Anything episodes are more than fillers because they can be sometimes as insightful as anything else, but it's essentially a no-topic show. You bring the topic, and I can give you my insight. Clover ain't here, so you'll have to come wonder what Clover would think about things. But our goal on Tuesday mornings is to chat about content creation. I've been doing it for a long time, and I don't know. I guess I've just always understood that there's certain things that you have to do as an individual, but there's lots of things that we benefit from working as groups, as teams, as individuals with a shared goal or a shared direction. And there's all different ways to perform that or to execute that. So over the years, we've had successes and failures trying to work together with others. And this show is, an extension of that. Started off talking about specifically addressing some questions, issues. I think it's a long time ago now. But I think it was addressing some specific questions or concerns people had about getting to SHOT Show. And we ended up doing a series of conversations because both of us are pretty interested in SHOT Show. And there's lots to say about it, especially with people who are working towards and then, getting there for the first time. Well, it didn't work. So it's a lot different when you're sitting here by yourself because you have to quickly find a mute button like that. Normally Clover blabs for half the show at least, so I can do all my sneezing when he's talking. So Georgia Trucker's joining in. Thanks for joining. Saying driving, but listening. I wish I was driving. My van is kind of working right now, but I miss being on road trips. Gunpowder Beauty is out there. Welcome. She was saying belly rubs and treats for the puppy. Nah, he's worried about looking out the front door right now. Or no, he isn't. He's sitting right here. Mello's looking out the front door, having a great old time because it's no longer hot here anymore. It's only like 90 or 80 or something, which is nothing for us. So the doors are open, and she's looking out the front door. People are walking to school or doing whatever they're doing. And old people are walking around. So she's just watching people walk by. And then little dude was over there watching Mello watch people. But like I say, now he's watching me do the show. So he's over here again. He is insisting on coming up into all this clutter. Let's see if I can somehow show you the dilemma that this little dog has. This works. Does this work? Yeah. So, dude's place is full of tripods and cameras and crap. So, he's frustrated, to say the least, that he can't go to his place. And also, there's some treats, I guess, over there. That's probably what he's most worried about. Oh, look at that. I do believe someone suggested that you should get a treat. So we'll give that dog a treat, and this will be a messy situation. See, he's stepping on the keyboard. Come on, buddy. You don't have to step on the keyboard to do this kind of stuff. Let's just set you around like with this, like a big dog. And you can sit like this. Is this going to work? I've been told by people that make quite a bit more money than me that I shouldn't have dogs on my podcast. That I shouldn't have a dog around when I'm doing gun-related stuff. I guess he's right. You know, I'm poor. He's rich. Making money off of the industry, so to speak. Let's see. So, but anyway, thanks to Gunpowder for the belly rubs and biscuits for the puppy there. And then Gunmetal Guy was the first one to show up. Wonder if he's working or what. Oh, it says right here. So Gunmetal Guy says there are certain thresholds to meet before getting monetized, but when I start making videos, should I monetize or leave it unmonetized to avoid the YouTube am I getting anything or not shell game? Well, it's a good, I think there's a lot in that question. So there are certain thresholds to meet before getting monetized on YouTube. So YouTube has a threshold, a thing you have to do. Quit coming up here, puppy. There's nothing for you to do up here. He's desperate to come up here and get more biscuits. The YouTube is, they've got their thresholds. They got their, the things you have to do. 1,000, I don't know what they are. 1,000 subscribers or 1,000 hours. I don't know. There's some things you have to do in order to get monetized. That's fine. And then I'm sure as the other platforms offer monetization, some of them do, some of them don't. They've also got thresholds. But in reality, in real life, there's no threshold. So you can do other things to monetize a channel besides wait around for YouTube to appreciate it enough to monetize it. YouTube is giving us a service, right? They're creating their servers and a system, and they maintaining all of these users, which is no small feat, and getting everybody to work together for the most part. So they're providing this service free of charge, kind of, because the charge is the data that they're collecting. But our is essentially free, other than them watching what we're doing. So they have to pay the bills. They decide how that all works. And for them, these thresholds were necessary to, figure it all out, I guess, on their end. I'm not even trying to figure out YouTube's business strategy. But as an individual, YouTube is just one piece, one element of your project. So for me, for example, I started doing my thing way before YouTube was a thing, like before doing things online like this was even thought about, because none of this existed yet. So we started with relationships locally with ranges and gun shops, manufacturers, just individuals that were doing interesting things, competition shooters, little inventors, people we'd meet at the range. I volunteered at the range for years and years, and I'd meet people out there as a volunteer, being a range safety officer, who were doing their thing, right? Some people were inventing stuff, some people were testing stuff, some people were filming stuff. This was a long time ago. It was for magazines and stuff. So when I say filming, they were taking pictures. Every once in a while, television would come out and film something because we were the county range. It was a nice, clean-looking range. And usually TV or maybe a commercial or something would come out there and film. So I got to see all these different things, and then YouTube came along. So I had some experience with publishing and some experience with television and cable and broadcast, some experience, well, I guess a bunch of experience with radio. And then when YouTube came along and the internet started getting faster and faster, we knew, at least a lot of us knew, that it was going to be a hybrid, continuation of all that stuff. So anyhow, that's the realm we're in. YouTube is just one of the buildings, one of the vehicles, it's one thing. So when we came at it from having all these relationships and sponsorships, you could say, like, we had websites and we had banners on the websites and we had publishing and we had different things that we were doing that people were sponsoring or subscribe. I guess it was called sponsoring back then. But we had customers, clients who we were promoting through our efforts, and then those efforts were supported by those sponsors. What do you call them? Advertisers? I guess advertisers is a better word, because we were coming from the radio realm. So we kind of built our online stuff similar to the way a radio show would work or a television show would work. We're going to create the content. People are going to support that content. We're going to put their ads on there. And usually some kind of a call to action. Hey, this is a taxidermist that supports what we do. This is a gun shop or a tackle shop or something that here's in Arizona that is a good resource for whatever it is you're talking about. So when the YouTube came along, we already had these relationships and established sources of monetization, let's say. And YouTube then was extra gravy on top of all that. And at the beginning, like a lot of things, when things start, they don't know. They don't have anything calibrated. They have no idea how it's going to work, but it's going to be a success or it's going to be a failure. So I'm sure some of those first people on YouTube that got monetized got poor, and a bunch of them got rich. I was poor, and then I had a bunch of money pour in for a number of months there. Didn't really last that long. And then 2013 happened, and I got kicked in the nuts, I guess you could say, financially. And that's when YouTube really started to pay. So I missed out on the shower of money. But anyway, so YouTube was a factor for a lot of people. And because of that shower of money, and it is possible, you can do other things besides guns and make a pile of money on YouTube. Because of that, I think people focus on that. So to answer that, that's a long ass way of answering. Are there certain thresholds? Yes. Before getting monetized, when I start making videos, should I monetize or leave it unmonetized to avoid the YouTube thing? So having it monetized or not is probably more advantageous to have it monetized, because then YouTube gives you more stuff. So if YouTube is going to give you more features and tools as a monetized channel, then why not be a monetized channel? If YouTube is going to let monetized channels have more access or get more covered or something, if they're going to give the monetized channel more reach on the platform, then why wouldn't you want to be a monetized channel? Do you need to do everything that a monetized channel does all the time? Like, no, you can do whatever you want. So, if you don't like some aspect of being monetized, then don't do that, as long as it's not detrimental to the process or something. So I'm not sure exactly, the angle there, but the last part is because I'm not sure about this last part. So then the getting anything or not shell game. Now there's two ways to read that, and I'm not sure how you're asking it. So there's the legal way, like are you allowed to take, what's the word? Like, are you allowed to get something in return for your effort or your service? So some states, that's a yes, you're allowed to get paid, but some states are going to want tax on that. Some states are going to have rules about it. I'm not aware of too many that would be too much of an issue other than tax things. I make this much money a year, and now YouTube is paying me $3,000 a month. So, that's a significant amount of money. I can't just ignore it. So what's the tax consequence to that? And everybody's different. Some people at $1,000 a month, there's going to be a tax consequence. Some people, like, I imagine anybody at they're $1,000 or more, there's going to be tax consequence. I don't think anybody makes so much. Well, if you're making so much money that $1,000 a month isn't an issue to you, then they're not listening to this. So when you're looking at it from the getting into the shell game, the only shell games you have to worry about really on YouTube are doing giveaways and what's the word? Sweepstakes and doing things that are close to gambling over the internet. So some states have different rules on what's gambling or different definitions of what gambling is. So some of the giveaways and some of the you got to click this to be entered to win type of stuff, I'd worry about that. If you're talking about that kind of shell game, I mean that's a whole nother conversation. And it doesn't stay the same; it stays similar. But if you're talking about just audience people getting worried about the way people do stuff on YouTube, then you're gonna be hindered by. Don't ever worry about that. You got to. You can do anything, and somebody's gonna come along and have a problem with it, and at the same time, somebody's gonna come along and praise you for it. So the world's full of a bunch of different people. If a bunch of people are gonna park in front of your stuff and give you crap, wait, and they won't be there in a while, right? Even if a bunch of people park in front of your stuff and give you acclaim or applause, wait, and they'll leave. Like the things change. So if you're doing a project and you've got a goal, you're the one doing that project. I wouldn't be too worried about what the people in front of you are complaining about or cheering about if you've got a real goal in mind. Now, if you're just there to play around and get on the the daily day to day, then you kind of have to worry about whatever everybody's worried about. But you're not going to make a bunch of money doing the day to day that I'm aware of. Doing the day to day, people do that just to be involved and have something to do every day. It's kind of like shooting the shit. You don't make money shooting the shit, but you got to be shooting the shit every day to be able to shoot the shit effectively. Otherwise, you just come in, you'd have nothing to say. I don't know if I answered that one well or not, but that's what you get when it's Ask Me Anything and nobody's giving, and I'm not reading any feedback right now, so maybe I'll read some feedback here in a second. Gunpowder Beauty saying Kentucky is making the kids soft. Cars said 105 yesterday, and both are whining that it was hot and they needed to go back to show them, or wait, that it was hot. They need to go back to Texas to show them what hot really is. So how does that work? When y'all are from Texas, or y'all just lived in Texas? I don't know how it works, but like if you are born in Texas and then you leave Texas, are you required to bring your kids back to Texas so that they get a certain amount of Texas in them? Or, how does that work? But yeah, I know what you mean. Our heat is over, but yeah, you could have brought them to Arizona this year. We had record days over 110. It's crazy. I hope it's over by now. Are questions better here or on other websites? Are questions better here or on other websites? That's a good question. I'm not sure what you mean. So the only place I'm asking questions or getting asked questions is here, I think. Occasionally there'll be like a question or something from Instagram, but I don't do too many ponders. I mostly just express stuff on Instagram. I'm letting people know, hey, here's a thing, or here's something that happened, or here's something that's going to happen. I don't put up too many, what do you think? Or that kind of thing. That is a strategy, though. So if you are creating content, if you ask questions all the time or create reasons for people to interact, that's actually way good for you, not just your morale or whatever, like giving you something to do with your project, but the interaction makes the logarithms, the things that make the platforms will use to monitor who's doing what, who's using the site more than others. The more you ask questions, the more you involve people. That's always a good idea. I had to bring the little dude back up, so you may or may not be able to hear him making his noises. Those people don't know what they're talking about. They answered everything as the puppy. See, I just picked up the puppy just as that comment came up. Oh, other channel, I got you. They're both coming in, so it doesn't matter. I only broadcast this to both channels because one, I can now, thanks to our Patreons. I decided to turn back on the StreamYard. It's $25 a month, and it's worth it. You get a bunch of features for $25 a month. But when I turned them off, some of the features I killed were being able to broadcast to more than just one channel at a time. And now I'm just doing it to exercise it. I don't know why I'm doing it. It's just really confusing to have two channels that are simulcasting to two channels. But I could possibly delete it off of one or something. There's just no point. So then Gunmetal's saying, I guess my core question is, should I not do AdSense to minimize their finger on the delete button? I might want to push boundaries and don't want to waste time. Okay, thanks for the clarification. That's an interesting question, because for those of us in the firearms community and Second Amendment and stuff, even when we're talking about Second Amendment, civil rights and that kind of thing, it's often conflated with guns, and that's always conflated with violence by people who are ignorant or people with an agenda. So that can be an issue. So if you're planning on pushing boundaries, depending on what kind of boundaries you're talking about, then the monetization handcuff or the monetization having your hands tied, I guess, or what should I say? I guess that could be an issue. And it's not that they don't care what you do when you're not monetized. It's just that they're not going to be scrutinizing it from the perspective of an advertiser. So the big difference, the big thing to think about, if Clover was here, he'd rant about this for like 20 minutes. There's terms of service on a place like YouTube, and then there's monetization, right? They're two different things. Terms of service is, here's the YouTube sets some rules, and here's what you can do, and here's what we don't want you to do on our platform, period. Because this is, we've decided these are the things that let people play well together and that keep our liability, so we can do this and not get sued every 5 seconds. So they create a terms of service, and everybody agrees to that somewhere when you sign up. But then when you become monetized, you have another set of, another layer of obligation or rules or constraints or whatever you want to say, opportunities, right? And though, any opportunity comes along with some kind of guidance or some kind of structure. So that's that monetization side. So the monetization side is less about what offends people and more about what offends advertisers, I guess. What advertisers will tolerate, what advertisers are interested in. So that's, again, a slippery, weird thing to navigate. And YouTube hasn't been super successful at it because, in general, our society, again, demonizes firearms, susceptible of, or is suspect of gun owners because of their warped perspective on firearms. So because of that, we've got YouTube people either with that idea or catering to that dumbass idea. And some of the monetization stuff does get into our rights and our ability to talk about it. But really, it's the terms of service. So as far as the monetization, I guess what I'm saying is, because they're two different elements, two different realms, two different layers, you have to do the terms of service to even be monetized. Obviously, you can't be on the platform or you have to be on the platform first before you can get monetized. So the terms of service do apply to all of us, and they still apply to us when we're monetized. It's just that monetization creates another layer of these issues. The monetization side doesn't really have too many constraints on guns specifically. Well, actually, I shouldn't say that. They have some restraints on guns specifically, but they're minor to some extent. They're like, you shouldn't talk about optics, or I forget what it is. Like, you can talk about certain gun parts, but not other gun parts, and that has to do with their understanding and their interpretation of what violence is and their ability to convey that in a legal document. And that's a whole other conversation. But essentially, the terms of service or the monetization aspect of it is going to be minor compared to the terms of service. Most of the problems that we have with YouTube in general as gun owners are in the terms of service and not necessarily in the monetization. We hear about the monetization way more because we all ignore universally the terms of service parts, because we all ignore it. We have to. Because they'll say anything with a gun is violent, and therefore anything with a gun is violent. Like, that's bad, and we know it, so we kind of have to deal with that. And everyone does, by no one enforces it, no one pays attention to it, and we just accept that they have dumbass stuff in their terms of service. But since nobody deals with it, nobody cares. But then the monetization side affects every once in a while somebody who either knows or doesn't know how it all works. And when somebody who does or doesn't know what's going on gets stepped on, what happens? They yell and complain and scream. So somebody who knows they were doing something wrong gets caught. What are they going to do? They're either going to shut up and leave, or they're going to make a big commotion. Oh, blah, 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 thinking that somehow making a big commotion is going to win them over and, get them to get whatever they want in the first place. So some people are going to have a big fit when they get caught. Other people are going to see a challenge and decide they might get caught and have a big fit to what's the word? Like before they even do anything, they're going to have a big fit as if they got caught to justify why they're not going to do anything. And I think that we get a lot of that blowhard stuff happening with the monetization side, either when people get hit, get slapped, and they're not used to getting slapped, or they're not able to get slapped, or they've never been slapped before, or they don't feel like they should be getting slapped. Those people cry a lot. And then the people that are too scared to try in the first place, they'll cry and scream and complain, even though they don't have no experience with it. Based on the people getting slapped, they'll say that it's possible I'll get slapped, so I'm not even going to try. So we hear about that stuff way more. But honestly, most of them are wrong. Most of them are doing one thing and cry something else because they don't want to talk about what they actually did, or they claim they don't know what they actually did. And it's possible some of them are just doing a bunch of weird things, and then one of the weird things gets them, and they just really don't know what the weird thing was that got them. But again, they usually know that they're doing something. So I would say AdSense is usually good for a channel because it gives YouTube more reason to spread your channel. If they're going to pay you, it's because they're getting paid. So if they're paying you to be on YouTube, it's because they felt that you are bringing enough people to the platform, to YouTube itself, to make everybody happy. So once you're monetized, they're not going to hide you. Once they're monetized, they want to show you off. Hey, look at this new channel we have faith in. Look at this new channel that we believe can bring more eyeballs to YouTube, and we're going to pay them to do so. They usually don't hide those channels. So if you really want reach, then AdSense should be part of your strategy. Even if you don't plan on making money, or you hate money, like you're a communist and you think money is a bad thing, or you're embarrassed by money, or you don't think people should talk about money. There's a lot of those people around. So, does that mean you shouldn't do AdSense? Unless you're an idiot, yeah, do AdSense. Again, the company who's going to be paying you is usually going to show you off. Now, if you're going to be weird about it, don't do AdSense, because if they're showing you off to make money and you don't want to have that happen and you work against them, well, then that's not a good idea. So should you shy away from AdSense based on what you might say or might want to do with your channel? That's still a lot of ifs. So I'd say the best bet is to do your channel as if you were going to do channel as normal, or not push any boundaries, and do your AdSense and grow your channel, get some experience, get some time on the clock. And then if you still feel like I want to push the boundaries, push all your boundaries, and now you'll have a much more aware environment to do that in. But I'd hesitate to, as part of your plan, give yourself fewer opportunities, because what you think you might do might be hindered by something that might give you other opportunities. There's too many ifs there. So if I'm understanding it correctly, the part about I might want to push boundaries, wait until you've done it first, and then see if you really want to push boundaries. I've seen too many channels go, oh, I'm going to start this way. Then they get going and end up doing something else. Because just like a lot of things, like let's say you want to drive a convertible really bad. So all you want to do is drive a convertible, and you save up for a convertible, and you research convertibles and everything, and then something happens. Let's say you get 17 little puppies, and now a convertible ain't the way to go. Now you want an SUV. Well, you might still want that convertible, but an SUV is more practical. So what you might want to do now is, like anybody, before the adventure, get in the adventure and start driving. And if somewhere along the way you go, I should have been doing this in a convertible the whole time, go get the convertible. But go find out first. Unapologetically armed out there. Good afternoon. Gunmail guy is saying, I've seen descriptions of channels as entertainment or educational. Which should I choose? That's a good question. So educational is typically going to, well, back in the day, we had to choose the different categories, and there was like 12. And like there was very few categories, and some of them were obviously like not us, makeup or dance or I don't know, girl stuff or something. And then business, like cooking, like some of them were definitely not guns. So I stuck my stuff into educational because I didn't want to be in sports, and I didn't think it was science because I had another channel that I shoved under science, right? I think I put the gear channel under science. So entertainment can get the connotation, is that the right word, of, kind of being fluff, kind of being less than necessary. And educational gets the connotation of being stuffy and boring and only for, when needed type of thing. But the good news is when you're talking about YouTube, they don't care and nobody cares. So it's almost an unnecessary thing. It's just, I don't even know why. Back in the olden days when there was very few channels and they didn't know what this thing was going to do, I think they thought of that as sort of like the cable guide. And they figured if they put people into sports or news or entertainment, that, we would all, there was only going to be like 30 of them and that would be easy to figure out. I don't think they anticipated millions and millions of people doing so many things. So the at least that portion of the sign up, when you're going to do your stuff or how you're going to label your videos, probably nowadays it's more of, if you're going to be in entertainment, you're going to be competing with, your singing and dancing and songs and jokes and fiction and that kind of thing. And if you go with educational, you're going to be competing with nerds and teachers and, I don't know, science stuff and maybe cosplay, not even cosplay. So I don't know, you're going to be dealing with a different audience and also a different group of peers. So personally, I think I'd go educational, but I guess it kind of depends on what your project's going to do. I'm out of sync with your analysis. Shell game was the tactic of YouTube picking and choosing which videos get money and which don't randomly with no consistency. That's interesting. So, okay, so that's fine. Thanks for clarifying it. What are you making noises about? Quit it. Come here. See what he does? He's a bad dog. That was probably some little lady walking by. Elderly lady with a walker. This dog barked at her and she fell over. All right. We're going to sit over here. Now he's laying upside down like a baby. So choosing which videos get money and which don't randomly with no consistency, I differ about that because there is definitely consistency and it's not random. The videos that get the most views get the most money, and the videos that get the most view in categories that pay the most make the most money. So if, to make exaggerated examples, if you use guns, we don't get very much. I think it's, if we're lucky, $2 or $3 per 1,000 views. Some people might make more, but we don't make that much in this realm. But if you go over to business on YouTube, videos on how to make money on YouTube, or videos on how to make money, do an email list or something, I don't know, like business type of stuff on YouTube, those can make $35 per 1,000 views. So $2 per 1,000 views versus $35 per 1,000 views. Big ass difference. So there's very few people over here that are making money. But as far as YouTube picking, that's because the monetization side of it, so much of the stuff that we do, again, I'm not justifying their definitions or whatever, but so much of the stuff that we do casually over here with, we assume there should be no consequence, dings right into their monetization issues. And you touch a gun, you hold a scope or whatever, and who knows how. But I don't think that's random. Or it's inconsistent. That has to do with them hating guns. That's a fight. It's, oh no, so we have things that are difficult. Like one of them is changing the perception of guns. We've had an entire communism and all the assholes who think communism is good over decades push in the Overton window. Now we finally have a group of people in the gun community who understand that and are doing a best to create momentum to push it back the other way. That's not easy. That's not even necessarily possible, but I'm not going to get too upset about it. So the part about randomly and the consistency is the only part I'd say. Don't fall for the people that aren't paying attention. People that don't pay attention act like the sky's falling, act like they're getting hit specifically, or like YouTube's got time to come around and squash individuals. There's mechanisms and there's people that go with the flow and there's people that go against the flow. And if you know you're going against the flow, expect to get squished every once in a while. Like, get hard, get used to it. I don't know if I'm offering good advice or not here. Barbecue saying, what is your earliest childhood memory at a gun show? I would go to gun shows on the weekends, and I can remember we would eat breakfast before, so I can remember eating breakfast as fast as possible and then doing everything I could possibly do as a little kid to get everybody in the vehicle who was going so that we could get to the dang show. I can kind of remember that as a little kid. I don't know where I got money from. I think I had to do stuff. I can remember having to, back in the old days, windows had putty around them, and I was constantly having to re-putty windows and cut lawns and horrible things that child labor. People should be arrested for what I had to do. But I'm pretty sure I got money that way. And then I must have got money for birthdays and kind of crap. So I had money, and I can remember like really, really, really wanting to get to gun shows. And I can remember the drive to certain gun shows. I never knew where the gun show was until we were driving there. And then I could tell from the direction, like which gun show we were going to and how fun it was going to be. Some of them were better than others. But now I'm trying to think, how do you go backwards in memories? I'm not good at it. I'm getting older, so it's tougher. So that's a good question, but I don't know if I can remember a specific memory. Back in the day, clouding through, I went to a shit ton of gun shows. I can remember, trying to remember early, I don't think I can. I can barely get a little glimpse here and there of like a specific one or the rooms or the buildings that they were in. But when you're a little kid being dragged to them, you just have less reference to pull back your memories from or something. I don't know. But that's a good question. It'd be interesting to ask a group of people, because I bet you there's tons of people that just started going to gun shows or only been to like 8 gun shows or some shit. So they can actually remember their first gun show. That'd be pretty neat. But that's kind of like saying, when's the first time you ate chocolate cake or something? Like, I don't know if that's possible to remember. Unless you've only ate chocolate cake like 4 times, right? Snobs out there, good afternoon. Gunmetal guy, do you do channel media packages, help with avatar design, channel art, banners? I'm mentally going back to Hangouts time frame when you needed those extras. Are they in StreamYard? Okay, so can we help you with that, or can I help you with that? Yeah, sure, for sure. There's other people that do that better than me, or they have different styles. Like Ghost has a style, and when he's not super slammed with his work, he's usually eager to help people out with that kind of stuff. And then there's like Barbecue. He does a lot of, I don't want to say thumbnail, but like project, what's that called? There's a word for that. But essentially the the artwork for a channel design. But yeah, we could do a live thing if you want. We could do an off-air thing, but for sure. And as far as going back to the Hangouts time frame when you needed those extras, well, I mean, thumbnails are getting easier and easier. One of the reasons I started this thing a little bit late is because I'm using Adobe Express now, and it's free with my Adobe subscription. So it's not free, I pay for it, but it's part of my Adobe subscription. Thanks to the Patreons who make it possible for me to have that, by the way. There's a scroll at the bottom of the screen that says, thank you to our Patreons for giving us time to spend on projects like this one. Our Patreons are people that subscribe to our projects. We've got hundreds of websites, well, dozens that are live right now. We've got social media presences, but our websites are designed to offer archives and insight on different realms of the firearms community. And We built those over the years with lots and lots of effort and participation with lots of people. So we're happy to have those online, and the Patreons pay for the servers and the software that keeps those running. But also our software like Adobe, it costs like $30 a month, and gives us access to the software that we use to pop the thumbnails and that kind of thing. So the thumbnail today, all I had to do was pop open a template, essentially you got last week's editable version of the thumbnail, and I swapped out the picture, I swapped out the text, and I saved it. And now we have this week's thumbnail. So once you kind of build some stuff up in your software packages, then you've got your own templates and stuff. So, setting that up and getting familiar with it is like anything. Once you've done it 10 times, you're expert at it pretty much. So it's just a matter of waiting 10 weeks to have done it 10 times type of thing. But as far as, are they necessary? I mean, they're certainly useful. They're not necessary. You can definitely go live with no thumbnail. You could go live with no kind of banners or anything. But yeah, it definitely helps. And it gives you a feel, or it gives you a style. People, if you make it too flashy, you're only going to get flashy people show up. If you make it boring, you're going to get boring people show up, right? So, there's something to marketing. Gunmill guy is saying, I'm listening, but flash mob in questions ahead of time. I intend to save this for reference, trying to get it in before third shift kicks your butt. I gotcha. So yeah, if I'm missing anything, feel free to ask or whatever in the comments. Whenever in the future you might be listening to the rest of this. Huck is out there. Good afternoon. Let's see. Unapologetically Armed says there's a guy who does workshops on body language. He's hilarious. He calls himself an edutainer. Thought that was clever. Well, edutainment is a thing, right? And that's, I don't know how to describe it, but I've definitely been a fan of the concept of more interesting educational stuff. From back in the days of slideshows at school and stuff, right? I think we've all seen some pretty boring presentations. Yeah, and I'd much rather watch something interesting that has value than just something that's fluff. So many of the movies, like the superhero movies, there's nothing in there. There's not even any good moral lessons or anything. It's garbage. It's just a bunch of excuses to rip people off making visual effects. I can't even watch visual effects anymore because that the people who actually made the visual effects are poor. And those stupid movie producers, or whatever you call, like the companies that make them movies, are just wailing on those people making the best stuff in the movies. So it's not even any fun to watch, because as soon as I see something interesting, I can't help but think that I usually watch something, see something interesting, and think, oh, I wonder how they built that. How did they put that together? What were the layers of whatever that came out with this effect? And then my mind goes, because I'm already thinking tech right there, I start thinking about the people who actually did it. And then I have to remember that those people are getting screwed. All the boring ass actors, well, I'm going to use AI or whatever. They've been sitting on top of the cream on the crop for years, making millions of dollars, while the visual effects people are making nothing. Not to mention, I'm sure the people moving wires and moving cranes and tracks and stuff, they probably don't get paid all that much. But those actors are bitching and moaning, and they're getting piles of money off the top of stuff. But I don't know, just a rant, I guess. Free rant. Snob threw $2 at us. Thank you very much. Give that little dog a treat. Well, let's see if he wakes up. Grabbing this bag of Nutro crunchy peanut butter treats, dropping 2 or 3 out into my hand. I'll say he's not coming over here. He has not come over here. Mello came over here. She got one, and now he woke up. So he got one and the little crumb that came out. So Mello's horked half of his. New York Outcast is saying Snob sent him a bunch of cash once, being watched by the ARS. You got to be careful with Oklahoma cash. You know what I'm saying? Just got to be careful with cash from Oklahoma. Snob is saying, my favorite memory of gun shows as a kid was saving up to get a nice blow dart gun. We went to either the spring or fall show, and I saw them, so I saved up to the next one. All right, blow darts. Yeah. I don't remember what years those were when those, I think it must have probably been after a movie though, like American Ninja or something came out and shot a blow dart, and then you kind of saw blow darts coming around. I mean, they existed before that, but that's when you really seen them. And then they kind of exploded there for a bit. So I do remember, and it was frustrating at the beginning because they were expensive, and I never owned one at first because they were so expensive, and I just couldn't see buying that kind of thing. I'd buy darts and I'd use my own pipes, but I wasn't going to buy their piece of aluminum with the like little clips and stuff all around it. Then you fast forward to the 90s, and I probably have a million of those things now. Because now whenever I see them now, well, not now anymore, but for a while there, whenever I'd see them at a gun show for like $2 or $1, after the market was saturated and everybody had like 3 or 4, and they were just getting rid of them or whatever. People didn't even know what they were after a while. They were just some aluminum tube. That's when I started buying them, and I ended up with quite a few because you could get a really cool one that in the original days when they first came out would cost you like $100. You can get that for like $4 because nobody cared anything. You could always buy a bag of darts for not very much, and those are essentially just pieces of wire and some little plasticky thing. Now that I'm thinking about it, you could probably 3D print some interesting blow dart fins, right? Actually, that'd be kind of neat. I wonder if anybody's doing that. But yeah, the blow darts were a lot of fun, and I can remember running around like spazzes shooting them. And the big thing was to get one that was small enough to fit between your wrist and your elbow, so you could put it in your jacket or whatever, and nobody could get mad at you for having it. And then whenever you needed it, you could whip it out and shoot stuff. And then it could be a lot heavier than aluminum too, because we weren't rich. We didn't have like aluminum tubes laying around, but we could get a piece of pipe that would work with the blowgun things. But as you said that, it made me think of, it wasn't my first memory, but it's the first one I can think of right now. Whenever after Rambo, or First Blood really, came out, those knives got super popular. And there was the cheap ones and whatever, but getting a real Rambo knife I can remember that being like a pretty difficult decision, because that was a shit ton of money. That was a lot of money to get a real good one, and you weren't going to buy 8 of them. You were going to get one. So you pretty much had to research and make sure that you were getting the one that you really wanted. I ended up with the Gerber version, the BMF. I think it was the BMF. The other version was the who made the other one? I'll think of it when I'm not trying to think of it. Buck made one with the Gatling hook on the handguard. I really wanted that one too, but I went with the Gerber because it had a solid grip, solid handle. But those were gun show days. So Gunmetal saying, if I made a secondary channel name inside of this primary one, for example, begin basket making channel, will having it linked to the dedicated 2A Freedom channel get it suppressed? That's a good question. I'd have to ask around a little bit to people who are dealing with this, because my channels I can't use my channels as an example for something like that. They've been around too long and I abuse them and they're just beat up. So my channels aren't good. I can't give you decent data from mine. And everything else I've built is essentially tagged with my big ones. So I just don't know. I think you'd have to get a panel together and maybe even a poll or something and ask a group of people this one, because I think it'll change over time. My initial reaction is I don't think it matters. There's nobody who's sitting around who really cares, for one. So the only thing that could get it to be an issue is if there's something dedicated or something built into the system to create an issue. And I just don't understand why they would do that. Like, again, there's nobody sitting around at YouTube that gets paid enough to worry about this kind of stuff. Nobody has that, YouTube doesn't have an agenda. Like, YouTube is just a thing. So for someone to have built something like this, there's just no reason to, and it would be too difficult to accidentally do it. Like, I don't think that that's an issue. Now, it's possible, again, when you get people that don't know what's going on and they just run around, or you get people that do know what's going on, but they don't want to admit it, or you get people that do know what's going on and whatever reason they're going to deny it. But essentially, you're not going to get too many people that can say, here's what happened. you get people that think they know what happened, or you get people that want to blame something. So it's really tough to say that there's any proof that this is an issue, period, and that we definitely don't know, even if it is an issue, if it's in reality an issue. Like there's the potential issue, and then there's a reality of it. Both of those are unknown. So I would not hesitate. I would not wait. Just act. Make the second channel. Connect them. You can always disconnect them. If you learn that there is some issue, there's ways to correct from that. But what you can't do is get experience when you haven't done anything yet. So it's, for the most part, I think it's good advice to just try and get something started, and then alter course if necessary. Let's see. FYI, I'm paying for your help on channel. When I get this, I wasn't sure if that was clear. Help is appreciated. I gotcha. Yeah, I appreciate it. I'll take money. We'll do more personal one-on-one stuff if you want to talk about getting paid. But I appreciate you giving me a chance to talk about some of this stuff, just in general, to the world like this, and keeping the show up to an hour. So most of the questions have been yours, and most of the points. So thank you for that. Ozzy's out there. Good afternoon. Let's see. That had to be the mid-'90s. So the mid-'90s was when I was getting blowguns for nothing. I would say was I? Hold on. The late 90s, early 2000s, I was getting blowguns for nothing. So I guess I didn't do no gun shows in the mid-'90s or the early 90s. I guess the mid-'80s is when I first started seeing blowguns. Gunmetal guy is saying, are the shorts on YouTube mandatory? Will you take a hit if you avoid producing them? Shorts are shorts. So just like commercials and television shows are different. Commercials and television shows, are different times, but they kind of address different things. They are attempting to reach different people. Same kind of thing with shorts. Shorts are your what's that thing called? Are your scholastic? What was that thing called with the dang, I can't think of what those things called on Saturday mornings. The little cartoons that taught us history and whatever, and civics. But shorts are essentially they can be commercials, but they're also just brief little pieces. So you're only going to get ideas across. You're only going to be able to challenge people or thank people. You're not going to be able to get much accomplished in a short. So the short should complement the longer term stuff. Schoolhouse Rock, thank you. That's what I was thinking. So you're not going to take a hit at all by not doing shorts, and I don't think you're going to gain anything by doing shorts. So if there was a television channel, like a cable channel, and it was said, you know what, people like commercials. Commercials are popular. Commercials work. If they just played commercials, then nobody's going to watch that channel, right? Like you're going to maybe watch that channel once in a while and go, oh, look at all the commercials. Or like, I'm bored, I'm going to watch some commercials. But how many people are going to go, I'm pretty wealthy and got nothing else to do. I want to spend some money. I'm going to go watch commercials and just buy stuff. Somebody might, but most people aren't going to do that. So I think a show or a channel that was nothing but commercials, and I'm not talking like retro interesting commercials. I mean like literally just brand new commercials. Like that would get old and boring. Now, on the other hand, a channel that's a cable channel that was nothing with no commercials, like nothing but shows, they're never going to pay any bills. So there's got to be a mix. And honestly, people that complain about commercials, what do you want? Like there's got to be some commercial. Otherwise, you're never going to be able to take a piss. So you're going to never be able to get up and refill your Dr. Pepper. So you have to have a commercial. And we're all trained that our commercials show up, 20 minutes, half an hour, some segment of time. Probably has something to do with how long we want to sit on our asses or how long we've got between tasks or something. So I think if you're building a channel, consider your shorts an element. If you're building a channel of shorts, then you're never going to get people to watch the meat because you're just going to get people to be there for the icing and for the filling. You're never going to get people to care about really satisfying themselves with your stuff. They're only going to be there for the just a little bit. So I'd say don't concentrate too much on the shorts, and don't be concerned at all if you don't do shorts. When you do shorts, the people that show up that really dig shorts, they're not going to watch your whole video. So even if you did something right and you got everybody who likes shorts on board and they all showed up at your channel, the first time you showed them something that's over a minute, they're going to roll their eyes, get pissed, and leave. And probably get pissed. Like they get offended if you try to show them anything longer because they showed up for the shorts. So you can use them, but I wouldn't be worried about them, and I wouldn't depend on them. Maybe that's a good way to say it. Snob is saying I don't remember how much it was, but probably $30. Yeah, when you're a little kid, $30 is a lot of money. I mean, nowadays probably kids get $20 for doing stuff. I think we got paid like $10 to mow a lawn or something back in the day, or $5. So $30 would have been like a month's worth of mowing lawns for multiple people. Screw that. Plus, you still had to buy your darts all the time because you weren't like collecting your darts. You'd shoot your darts up in the trees or up in the like roofs of stuff. It was fun to shoot them up into the roofs of stuff, but then you'd have to go buy more darts all the time. I'm pretty sure my Rambo knife I had as a kid was the best quality China made. I mean, I had some of those too. There was also the Air Force Vietnam knives. They were air crew knives. A lot of people settled for those and ruined them. That sucks. But yeah, there was a lot. And then there was the K-bars. A lot of people were satisfied with K-bars as their Rambo knives, because Rambo knives with a hollow handle are not strong. Nobody claims that they are. So even in the height of the Rambo era, there was a bunch of people that were like completely dismissive of the hollow handle, and they would, they'd be intrigued by the tools or like by the saw on the back or something that was new. But there was always a group of people that were just super satisfied with the K-bar, and they weren't always Marines. So now I'm getting asked by Lord Balkan, Ruger American or Savage Access in 308. Well, I don't like 308 that much, so you didn't. Well, are you saying Ruger American in 308 or Savage in 308? I've only had one Savage. I know friends that like Savage a lot, and I've shot them, but I never owned one. A Ruger American, I only want one because they make them in 7.62x39, right? So if I was going to get given one, because there's no way I'm buying one of these. If somebody was going to give me one, I'd probably rather have the Savage, I guess. But I'm going to take this opportunity to go. Ruger is a guy who was clever. He took the Japanese and German guns and turned them into a really complicated 22. That's kind of neat. Then he made the 1022. That's kind of cool. His business partner died, and he changed the logo and stuff. All that's kind of cool. And then when the time came to be challenged and he had the opportunity to stand up, and it wasn't, like a thing to do, he chose not to, and he did the whole compromise 10-round magazine garbage. And that's his legacy, unfortunately, for a lot of people. So I don't have a problem with the guy. He's a clever guy. He's not Browning. He didn't come up with shit by shooting and watching gases come out the front of his gun and figure out a way to reharness that and invent semi-auto. He took two existing gun designs and that were complicated and kind of shitty and made a third complicated and okay gun out of it that I think is kind of shitty, honestly. And then, a bunch of other things. He's a good reinventor. He does, I wouldn't call him like an inventor as much as a recreator. And then he compromised, and that's going to be tougher. He can't live that down. He's done, but his reputation will have to live with that. And going forward, no one's going to forget that. And we're not in a world where our rights are given to us. We have to take our rights and keep them. So him having that legacy of being a compromiser, he's going to have to deal with that. There's nothing that can be done. That exists in time. Savage, on the other hand, I never knew nothing about Savage until I did the Firearms Inventors deck, and then I researched Savage, and his life is super interesting. We definitely need a movie about Savage. Whenever he created the Savage, M99 or something, M89, M99, he left the company and left it with his name. So the name is Savage still, but the guy called Savage left after that first gun, and he invented the radial tire in California. He was old man, like 80 years old, and got into car racing as cars were first being invented, and was one of the first car racers and invented radial tires to make his cars go even faster. He was using the Savage plant to build some of the first production cars in the country way before Ford or anything like that. I think it was before Ford. So Savage is just a cool dude, and I've never owned any of those guns. Or wait a minute, I might own a Savage 22. I just don't remember. But I would probably take that Savage Axis. I've heard good stuff about the Axis. I've heard some bad things, but mostly good things. But they're not. Neither one of these are in my wheelhouse. So you're not talking to somebody who knows a lot about either one of these. And I'm only picking one because I like the story of the one guy versus the actions of the other guy. I think you're shorting yourself if you don't do some shorts, is what Snob says. I mean, I'm not going to disagree with that. You want to have the creative ability. You want to know how to make shorts. You want to understand shorts. The same way if you're an oil painter, you want to learn watercolor to some extent, right? If you're a television person, you probably want to learn some radio just to understand the different way of doing it. But that's where I think the value is. As far as the channel itself, I don't think the channel gains anything by having shorts. Now, if Snob is saying it from that angle, like the mechanics of it or the inner workings of the YouTube mechanism, I'm down for understanding if I'm missing something there. But I just don't. I think you could do a very successful channel and never touch a short, and I think that's evidenced by all the successful channels that don't have any shorts. And there's successful channels with shorts, but they're typically, trying to get a message out there, and it's usually a message of buy Dr. Pepper or something dumb, or they're 100% focused on sales or something. But I'm also being pessimistic a little bit. I don't like shorts on YouTube. I should say it that way. So here's my experience. I don't like shorts because they dumb down everybody and they make the attention span short and all that. On the other hand, they're fun and they're easy to make or whatever. They're also low value. Like they don't get anything. They're not getting any point across. If anything, you're just kind of poking around at people's buttons. So on Instagram, I think, is the first time I had to deal with them, and you had to go find them. You had to go to the circles and watch them intentionally. Then they figured out that they catch people with those short videos, so they stick them into our feed, and now all of a sudden you're watching nothing but shorts on YouTube, on Instagram. So on Instagram, I see the shorts of other people who I follow, and it's usually like stuff that I can deal with. If I go to YouTube, I don't know how the hell it decides to show me stuff, but if I go to YouTube for probably 6 months or a year, if I would look at a short, the next short that would show up was that one where the guy's walking down a hallway, somebody's reaching in to try to open the door, and the guy clubs the hand of that person, and I fucking hate that. Like, I hate that fucking video so bad, and YouTube would show it to me over and over, and nothing I did could tell YouTube to quit showing me that fucking video. So I quit watching shorts. So I hate shorts to this day because of that video where the guy clubs the person's hand in the door. Like, I fucking hate that. So that's definitely warped my opinion of shorts. And that's YouTube's fault for showing me that damn video so many times. I still have flashbacks to that stupid video, and I won't watch shorts to this day because of it. Plus, whenever you watch shorts on YouTube, you have to pull them out of your history. Let's say you watch shorts on YouTube and the next short is somebody doing something weird. Well, now you're going to be watching people doing something weird for the rest of your life if you don't go in there and remove it from your history so that YouTube doesn't think you wanted to watch that. YouTube is very stupid. And if it shows you something and you don't delete it, it thinks you want more of it. So FYI, if you're frustrated with what YouTube is showing you, you need to go into your history and delete everything that you hate. And it'll help that. But if you haven't been doing that constantly, YouTube will go, well, one time you watched this video and you watched half of it, so we're going to show you that again. Let's see. Snob is saying, I despise vertical video, but they're easy way to reach a bigger audience. You're right. And I also don't like the vertical for the most part. I'm getting more used to it. And it's because you reach a bigger audience. That's why I don't value it. It's the large audience is rarely useful. Like, they're there to be entertained. They're there because they didn't realize you were the next video. You know, they didn't seek you out. You were shown to them. And let's say that they go, this is the best thing I've ever seen. I can't wait to see more of this. Before they even think that thought, the next video is showing them a kitten, and the next video is showing them, somebody getting hit with a frying pan. So they're forgetting about whatever they saw of yours before they even have a chance to register it. So I hear you. I just have a more pessimistic view of it, I think, or at least of the viewers of shorts. Let's see. Snobby that I set a pretty good portion of pasture on fire with matches. It was probably 6 or 7. Let's not have a discussion about how many fires got started, but if you haven't started a fire, then you don't even know what it's like to have to put out a fire, right? You know, there's certain people that just don't do things and don't realize the consequences of things. Outcast is saying shorts have gotten him a few subs. Your shorts are a little bit more interesting than some people's. Like, you're not out there, pandering and doing the lowest common denominator stuff. So when you kind of push it a little bit and do interesting things or more, day-to-day stuff, like less outrageous stuff, I suppose you probably can gather. It's just that how many good normal people are out there watching shorts. I think some people get suckered into watching shorts. Some people realize, oh crap, I'm watching shorts, and they get out of there. But I think the people that are sitting there watching shorts are essentially, or for the most part, are useless. They're just people on the pooper or on the bus. They're not doing anything. They're just trying to stay awake or keep entertained while they're getting to the next thing. I don't know. I'm pessimistic about it. When I do make videos, do I need to make sure to put some kind of icon in the corner, my name symbols, something to identify the ownership? It can be blurred, but should it be done no matter what? So that's a good question. So essentially we're talking thumbnails or watermarks, I guess a better term. So there's a lot of theory on that. People who want to remove it, it's easier and easier because you can just tell an AI to remove it now, and it'll do that. So it's not foolproof by any means. It makes another step for someone who wants to steal it, but it's definitely easy to remove them at this point. But it's for the peer. I don't think of them as there for the watermark. I don't think of it as there for the prevention of theft, because there's so many ways to get around it. Instead, I think of it as an identifier for the people who might, maybe show up in the middle, look over somebody's shoulder, agree or disagree with what you're saying, and want to see what is that you're watching. It's that consistent branding so that no matter who's on the screen or what's going on, there's something there that indicates this is the channel you're watching, this is the show that we're doing. I don't do it well because I don't take it that seriously, but I'd say the good practice would be to do that. And the best thing you can do is get that habit in at the beginning, because it's all habit. And if you're not in the habit of adding that element, then it's probably going to be tougher to add the habit later. But it's just a habit. Like I do the thumbnail. I described earlier how I open up the thumbnail in Adobe Express and grab last week's and then edit the image. I edit the text and then save it. And it's a pretty easy thing to do. Well, it took a couple of weeks of figuring out how I want to do it and which parts to edit and that stuff and get the process down. So if you're including that element in the process, then it just becomes part of your process and it's not a big deal. This one, it's on that we're seeing here on StreamYard is a function of StreamYard. So I can plug in a whole bunch of them that I have over here in the StreamYard. And I use those for branding essentially, and half the time I forget which one it's on. But again, I shouldn't. It's designed like this is kind of redundant having that logo up while this logo is up. I could probably switch one of them, but I'm usually not the only one in the show. As you see it, I have both the Savage and the Rig American. They both have their pros and cons. Oh no, he's saying they both have their pros and cons. Ozzy has a Savage and 350 Legend. Snob is saying he has an American in 308 and like 3 Savages. The Access XP2 is probably equal to the Ruger, but he likes the Ruger and it costs a little bit more. Interesting. 11 thumb up, thank you. Huck is saying you should definitely have episodes that are a clinic for folks who need help with a problem or maybe censored social media accounts. I mean, I'm not going to suggest I'm some kind of expert on navigating the censorship stuff other than, being around and watching people. But, I certainly haven't gotten into the weeds and I have no access or influence with any of the social platforms or anything like that. But, if people are satisfied with just observation and opinion, then, we can do that. And that's essentially what this show is each week. Let's see, then Gunmetal saying 100% on social media effect, especially shorts on attention span. I police that myself on my consumption of it. Well, here's the thing. As much as I watch shorts when I want to, because I like watching shorts, I do find them interesting sometimes. And if I'm just laying there or something, or if I'm sitting on a bus or something and, I just need to pass time, they are inconsequential. You don't get wrapped up in anything. You're not trying to remember the plot of a book you're trying to hear or read or something. You're not trying to get a less of an experience in like a movie where you're not seeing everything. Like I hate watching a movie on something tiny for the first time because then you're missing all kinds of stuff. And the second time you watch the movie, it's not even the same experience. Now you're catching up on the stuff that you've already seen, but you have no surprises. So there's some frustration watching some things in some formats, but I was going to say, as much as we watch shorts, how many people listen to hour-plus long podcasts? I listen to 1, 2, 3, usually 3 podcasts a week that are 2+ hours. Listening to the military interview podcasts and then a couple of the business podcasts and things can be hours. So we do have a widening attention span. Not that it's growing, it's just that it's getting both shorter and larger. Because to sit there and listen to 2 hours worth of reminiscing about something, let's say, that happened in Vietnam, that never was a thing before. There was nobody going to sit down and talk for 2 hours about their experiences in Vietnam. They didn't feel comfortable or they didn't feel it was necessary. There was an opinion that it was your business and that you bottled that stuff up. Like there was a whole different mentality of it until recently. So it's not all bad. Social it can wear us down, but it can also sharpen us, right? Roboto is saying, good point. I don't like shorts mainly. Maybe because I don't know how to turn off the automatic next one. I don't even know if there is, but that's the problem, is that the next one sucks on YouTube. The next one is always horrible. I'm not scarred for life as much as angry at YouTube for being so horrible that it shows me that. First, that they would suggest that to people. It's like a shitty video. It's just shitty in 6 different ways. But that they won't shut it off is just an annoying glitch that shows me how horrible YouTube can be. That's why I turned off my start screen watch history page. The blank page is relaxing and peaceful. Oh, I didn't even think of that, turning off your watch history. I use my watch history for the weekly wrap-up, and I often will scroll back through there if we're having a conversation and I try to remember when I saw something or something like that. And then for me, having the watch history, like I'll remember I watched some interview, and then I'll remember I seen somebody's video. And I know that the thing I'm looking for is between those, so I can go to my watch history. Like it can be my archive. I don't have to remember all that stuff. So I get it, but I don't think I could handle turning off my watch history. What you can do also without having to turn off your watch history is have multiple accounts. And if you're going to go watch shorts, flip to another account, like some BS account that doesn't matter. Watch all the shorts you want. And if you're going to watch shorts on, like I might watch shorts on how to work with Blender, a 3D video software, because the shorts that people put over there are very fast tutorials or demos of something cool that they made. And that can give you a key to like, what is that noise? What are you doing? Quit it. Scared the shit out of me. So some of the stuff that's out there in shorts that's constructive and useful is amazing, right? But I don't want to watch Blender shorts very often. Like I got to be in the mood to be, to be doing something new or creative, or be inspired by something. If I watch some Blender shorts when I'm not ready for it, I'm gonna just be frustrated that I don't have time to go play with that element in Blender or something. So that's where you might make a channel on YouTube, watch your cooking videos there. Go to another channel on YouTube when you've got to fix, like whenever I got to fix the van, I'll run around trying to figure, like I tried to figure out how to pull the water heater out of there, just because I'd rather watch somebody. I mean, I've done it like 5 times, but I'd rather watch somebody do it on video and listen to their input just to see if they've got a faster way of doing it, or maybe they've got a different way of moving the fan shroud or something. And just to kind of get a refresh, but also to see if there's an opportunity to see something new. So if I watch like 5 shorts and 2 videos trying to get one that shows me my van, or what I'm trying to do in my van, then that gets lost in a mix of all kinds of other garbage if I just watch it on the main channel or on my channel that I use all the time. But if I go to a specific channel and watch those things, the next time the van breaks down, I go to that channel. My history is going to be those 5 videos that I watched with the water pump last time. So it's going to be another way to use YouTube that might prevent some of the annoyance and kind of amplify the benefits. I'm bad at math, so I have to do the lowest common denominator. Uh-oh, I don't know which one we're talking about there. Or are you just saying that... I'm not sure what you're saying there. So the gun snob is saying, yeah, I got the fire out, and my mom was a little bit upset that I ruined a good pair of shoes and a jacket, putting it out when my dad and grandpa saw it. They were not happy with me. If you get caught, you get caught, and it's the consequences of getting caught. If you're getting enough trouble, you learn how to not get caught, and then you don't have to worry about those kind of consequences. Let's see. One of the many trips to the woodshed. Let's see. Ruger Blackout, or 300 Blackout takes AR mags. I think the Ruger American 7.62x39 does it. It takes AK mags, right? So that's one of the reasons I think I was digging it. Let's see. So I guess Sanab is saying that some of those Rugers don't take AR mags. Let's see. That's a lot of podcast time. Well, I listen to them most weeks when I'm doing stuff. So, I mean, it's not like I sit down and just sit in a chair listening to a podcast. I'm doing stuff, and the podcast is happening in the background. That's what Foss is saying. I listen to long format stuff as I'm doing stuff around the house. Yep. Except for me, it's like updates and computer garbage that just has to be done. Let's see. And then Gunmetal is saying, I've noticed a lot of people using the royalty-free YouTube music or artist-created royalty-free music from dedicated artist channels, putting source in info under your title as the channel videos. Yes or no? I don't like music. 1, I didn't ever like it. And then 2, when I started to use it from free sources, that was like in 2011, let's say. Years later, those free sources started charging. So when they, there's just no way to know in time what's going to happen. But if you don't use any music, then you know that there's no music and it's not an issue. There's people that have paid for, like, I know that Apple, the iMovie or whatever, like the thing that just comes with the Macintoshes when they make them or when they buy them, like that was having copyright issue. Like somebody copyrighted all the iMusic stuff. So like there's no, over the years, there's been no safe space for music. I've had, I forget what the guy's name was. There was a guy that offered all kinds of free music for years, and I did use that for a while. Luckily, YouTube did the thing where they just pulled all the music out automatically with robots. But the problem with music, or a problem with music, is if you use it and it's good to go now, then time goes on and now it's not good to go. What are you going to do? Like, you have to go in and use some kind of robot magic to pull the audio out, or re-upload it without the audio, which may or may not be possible if it's years later. And often you just end up having a default to delete that content, and it's just a waste of everybody's time then. So I'm just not a big fan of music in videos. Matt's been doing it in his nerd chats or whatever. Every once in a while I'll watch him, and he's got his weird porn music going in the background. I mean, there's just no point. Like it makes it distracting, I guess. And I just don't get it. It's a style or a taste thing. And for me, even if I would like some music in the background, um, I'm not gonna. After all these years, I'm too gun shy. Over on Whatnot is a selling platform. It's kind of like YouTube and eBay mixed together. Over there, we can play music, and that was kind of fun. But the problem is, I think if I started playing music, then everybody go, "Oh, I don't like this guy's kind of music," right? And it's just another thing for people to have an issue with or whatever. So let's say you're sitting there having a conversation about this or that or the other thing, and now you're playing Metallica. Well, there's a bunch of people that are going to be like, blah, 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 I don't like Metallica. Or a bunch of people that are just there to hear the music. And then you flip it over to some other music that ain't Metallica, and then they leave. So I don't think you win anything with music, and all you got is potential to get kicked in the butt with it. Talking about that Ruger, I think. I use a separate browser not logged into Google for YouTube Shorts. I don't want it in my YouTube history. That's another way to do it too, is this multiple browsers. If you're not using multiple browsers, let's talk about that. So I don't know what you're using right now. Hopefully it's not Microsoft Internet Explorer or whatever it's called now. Hopefully if you're using Google, you've got all of its little spy stuff turned off, but there's the Google browser that a lot of people use, Chrome. There's the whatever Internet Explorer is called now, the Microsoft version. Is that, I don't know what it's called now. And then there's the Apple version, which is no better. So there's the three giant browsers out there, and then there's the other layer. There's the Firefox and the Brave and the Opera. I don't know. There's a whole bunch of other browsers that are free and that are doing different levels of not paying attention to what you're doing or not paying attention at all to what you're doing, letting you do your own thing. So I recommend highly that if your computer can handle it, and most computers can, install multiple browsers. So you can have the one that you use all the time and, do whatever you're going to do. Then have another one. And like Domo was saying, then go to that browser for your shorts. So what happens is YouTube might know that it's on the same computer that you're on, but they can't be sure, and there's no way they can offer you the same feed or anything. So essentially what you get is a naked feed, a feed that is unaltered by your history every time you go to that browser. Or if, like I was saying with the car stuff, if you like looking at car stuff or you like looking at gardening stuff or something every so often, then just go to that browser for that, and it'll start to accumulate a history of you looking at that stuff and kind of let the logarithm work to your advantage. And you can have as many browsers as you want, honestly. So you can have like, 3 or 4 major interests and do all your car stuff on this browser and all your other stuff on that browser. And then you get the benefit of every once in a while you're doing something, you're looking at your own account and you wonder, what's it look like for somebody else who isn't me when they go to my channel? Then you go to one of your other browsers and you're not you anymore. Now you're somebody else coming into your account, and you can look at it from that observer's perspective and not the logged in user's perspective. So having multiple browsers is free and fairly easy. You just have to keep track of which one's which by clicking on the button or whatever. But if you don't understand what we're talking about, I'll get more into that. But multiple browsers is definitely a hack that everyone should be taking advantage of. Ozzy is saying my Savage Access is the cheaper one, not the good trigger. Put a spring kit in from someplace and now it's a great trigger. Oh, okay. I just thought all the Accesses things was a trigger. I don't pay attention to guns. Ruger American takes Mini 30 mags. Ugh. That's not a selling point for me. Clover saying, I'd like to make lots of money on the internet and heard your $5,000 course is going on sale soon for $399, $3,999. Do you have any idea when that will be? I need money fast and easy. Well, I'm making it, no. So there's definitely things to do online right now. Easy and fast. Cool. Oh, I see. They're making fun of him saying East Texas. Domo saying I want to make lots of money, but don't want to make videos or shorts. How do I? Well, there's lots of ways to make money. Let's see. Great point. I don't think ahead, or didn't think ahead. I should do that to future-proof any content. Are you thinking about the sound, I guess? Question, would I need to make lots of money on the internet? Heard that you're... Okay, same one. Oh, it's because it doesn't delete over here. Sorry. I'm not paying attention to the actual chat. I'm looking at the inside here, so I don't see the ones that get deleted. Let's see, so gunmetals, or Fossa saying to gunmetal, some of the free YouTube music requires attribution and some doesn't. Well, the thing is, I've found over the years, and others can let you know what they think, but I've found that changes. So 6 years from now, what are they going to consider needs attribution or not? And I don't know. Like I said, it doesn't matter too much, and we're not making videos that each one matters. It's just that if you made 1,000 videos and it turns out 6 years from now, 2 or 3 of them did something that matters, and you were just not paying attention, you weren't really thinking about it, so you'd put audio on there, you put songs on there, that's when it can come back and bite you. So it's a lot of what ifs, and I'm just being extra conservative or extra cautious, I guess. Clover can teach you how to print all the $5 bills you want. Nice. If you want to print $5 bills online, how do you make $5 bills online? You could probably do something. Well, you make $5 on a T-shirt usually. So if I forget it's been a while since I've played with my print on demand. But typically, when you go to a print on demand type of store or service, they'll offer, let's say, a base price for a shirt is $12 or something, or $10, and that might be even shipped. I don't know. It's been a while since I've looked at these things. But let's say that it was $12 or something shipped. You can go to that, upload an image. That's all you got to upload, and arrange it on the shirt and set up the colors and everything that you'd like, and then offer that for sale on their site. And if somebody ever goes along and buys that shirt, it never exists until the first person buys one, and then they take that design, they probably print it on the shirt at this point, and then send that shirt off to the person. So the shirts don't have to be made and created and stored and archived and all that kind of stuff, or I guess inventoried or stored anywhere. So now they just have a bunch of blank shirts, and they have a bunch of files and a couple of printers, and these are the ones that I'm thinking of are done in Henderson, Nevada, just outside of Vegas. So you upload your image, so you get everything set up, and you walk away. Well, one of the things that you determine during that is how much profit, how much markup you want on that, what did I say, $12 shirt, $17 shirt, whatever it is. So let's say you get a $15 shirt. That's easier to do the math on. And then you add $5 to it. Now the end cost to the customer is $20, and your markup is $5. The $15 goes to pay for the shirt, print it, and ship it. So that's a way to print $5 bills online, is to do something online and then let people know, hey, you can support what we're doing by buying a shirt, and then those $5 that get that are brought to you by the shirt manufacturer, the shirt print on demand place. That can be an income. There's definitely people out there. You've seen people that prioritize shirts, and that's a way to bring in $5 per. Kind of no harm, no foul. Like if somebody doesn't want a shirt, they don't buy the shirt. If they do want the shirt, then they know that the shirt costs something, and they know that they're supporting your channel at the same time. So by wearing that shirt, not only are they spreading the word about your project or your whatever it is, your channel or whatever, but then they're also know that they helped put another $5 into the coffers. That being said, let's play this commercial real quick.
Hey, did you know that you could help support our future projects and let everyone know you're a fan of what we do? Check out our print-on-demand store. We have a tab here on YouTube. When you click on it, you can choose from a bunch of different items. We have shirts and posters and coffee mugs. Click on the one you like. When you find the design you want to put on it, choose a color and a size if it's appropriate. And when you purchase these items, a portion goes to help fund our future projects. We really do appreciate your support. You get some cool stuff. When you get that stuff, post pictures here and on other platforms, and we'll hook you up next time you order from our Gear website store. Thank you for your support of gunwebsites.com.
So that gives me a chance to drink down some of my coffee, and I wanted to, still in the middle of double checking to see when Cape Gunworks is going live, because I keep forgetting. The reason we started doing this show on Tuesday specifically is so that I could create a redirect over to the Cape Gunworks Tuesday show, where Toby will host a 45-minute session with Grace Curley on her show called 2A Tuesday. And that's been going on for quite a while. So when we do this show on Tuesdays, we try to link over after the show to the, I guess the portion of the Grace Curley show called 2A Tuesdays. So that is happening today, and if I can figure out how to copy and paste, we'll put it in the, we already got it in the video here, but I'll also put it in the description. Anybody that's interested in watching a decent conversation about the Second Amendment, Toby is a master at being able to multitask the conversation at hand. If he's on the radio show or if he's taking callers or whatever, he can deal with their conversation, but he's also able to deal with the live conversation that's happening in real time with the audience over here on YouTube while they simulcast. So it's really a cool experience. Toby's knowledgeable about guns, current events, and the politics of the anti-gun stuff. You know, he's in Massachusetts and he deals with a bunch of the other states and their issues as he's dealing with their plight. So great all-around show. Can't recommend it enough. And now it's linked to this show. When it's over, everyone will be invited to check it out. All right, so Gunmail guy saying can't please everyone. Frankly, I don't care to try. Well, you know, there's no need to piss off everybody. You know, we know there's certain things we can do to piss off everybody. Shooting 9mm, promoting 9mm. There's just no point. There's just, sometimes you don't need to antagonize everybody. Is anyone else thinking that gWebs is being funded by the anti-music politicians? No, I'm just gun shy from being wailed on. And I think, you know, we're seeing the writer's strike now. We see the art, what do you call them? The actors getting all upset about AI. It's like the horse and buggy people getting all mad about cars. There's certain things that are going to happen, and it's frustrating, especially when you're a horse and buggy empire. But, you know, the rest of the world wants cars. So the Hollywood and all that, getting all upset. Remember the musicians? Remember Metallica? I used to like Metallica a lot more until they had a big hissy fit about people listening to their music on the internet and how they weren't making enough money every time somebody listened to their music. So, you know, that's something that, you know, those politicians and that were, to some extent, I think, funded by, or at least motivated, that's the right word, by the industry trying to get people to listen to their dumb music again and or care about it, you know, and then pay attention to it, you know, with the whole hype about whether or not, I don't know, what was it, lyrics or something? I'm trying to remember what it was back then. Was it the violence in music? I don't remember what issue he's talking about. It's Microsoft Edge. Yeah, that might be what it's called. I mean, I probably own it, but I only use it if some software pops it up automatically and I turn it off right away. There's a couple of good channels you can watch out there about security and privacy. And it's one of those things where people, I think, dismiss it and go, oh, I don't care if they watch what I do. I'm boring, blah, blah, blah. But it's a lot more nefarious than that. And since robots exist, there doesn't have to be a person sitting in a chair smoking a cigarette paying attention to what you're doing. There's dozens, if not hundreds, of robots that casually pay attention to every single thing you do and listen to everything you say. So just FYI, they're listening to everything you say with your phone. Foss is saying, I use Chrome, Firefox, and DuckDuckGo. Some stuff doesn't work well with some browsers. Yeah, and I think I started complaining about browsers when, that's what I was talking about, my Adobe
Express flipped over sometime this week and only works with Chrome browser and some others, but it doesn't work with my Firefox, which is annoying because I don't like Chrome and I do like Firefox. So I had to try before this show to set up the thumbnail, and it distracted me. It took me like a half an hour because they've changed. They went to a new beta version of it, or a new version that's been in beta, and I used the regular one. Then I went to beta, and then I went back to the regular one, and now they moved it to what was beta. So I'm going back and forth and trying to figure out which version of Adobe I'm on. It's annoying. Naked feed. Well, let's keep going. I know a friend that cleans his browser history every few minutes. Yep. Well, there's one called. Which one is it? Is it Firefox? I know there's a couple of them that have a button that you can just click. It's on the browser, or we call it like on the toolbar. Click it, and it deletes everything. I don't mind deleting browser history every once in a while, but typically I don't because it's too useful, especially if you've been browsing stuff. Let's say you're doing some kind of research on something, and then 4 days later you put it down or whatever. 4 days later you pick it back up and you're trying to get your bearings on where you were. If you delete your history all the time, you're out of luck. But if you leave it there, at least you can go back and look at the links you've been looking at, or find that place that led you to the place you were finding info. Let's see. Print $5 bills. What a rip. I can literally buy a stack of $100 ones from Amazon. For people that haven't bought a stack of $100 movie money, the $100 counterfeit, like not really counterfeit, it's like movie money, it's fake. Those are super fun. Like 3/4 of the bill is normal, but you've got like a portion of it that's messed up. It'll say like this is movie money, but you can put your thumb over that part. So it's designed so that you can put it in a movie and it'll look good, and you can have it in the bands and everything. People can thumb through it and it looks pretty decent. It's super fun to play with. I mean, it doesn't feel like money. It's a little thinner. It's not, it's not designed to be counterfeit or anything, but it's the same size and it looks just like it. So in videos and in pictures, it's a lot of fun. So if you haven't, consider grabbing, a couple of $100,000 worth of fake money. It's essentially paper. It'll cost you like $2, and it's just super fun to have it around. Probably great for practical jokes too. I wonder if you took, it's probably mean, but if you took a stack of those $100 bills that are fake and just started sticking them in random books, like the library or something, you hear people, oh, and then, oh, anyway, it'd probably be mean. So Domo is saying a $5 super chat. Thank you for the logarithm. Thank you for introducing me to Neil Knox as well as Minuteman University. Looks like Domo is taken off. So yeah, you bet. Neil Knox is the guy who in 1977, is the guy in 1977 through fax machines, through an auto dialer. So a robot, like on the one Simpsons episode, a robot that would have it was like a reverse answering machine. You'd put a message on it and it would call people on their telephones. When they answer, the robot would go click, click, and play the message. And Neil Knox used that, a fax machine, and an old-fashioned newsletter, which means he would write stuff on a piece of paper, take it to a place, and have it Xeroxed, which is different than anything we got today, and then send those Xeroxes to people with the mail, with the stamps, and using the technology of the olden days of 1977, which was high-tech at the time, was able to get enough people at the 1977 NRA annual convention and meeting, annual meeting and convention at noon or something. Everybody put on an orange hat, and that unifying symbolic gesture, everyone being in a communication and having that awareness, everyone was going to stop and put on an orange hat. That showed the NRA leadership that it was not necessary to, or it wasn't a good idea to put their tail between their legs, stop being a political, or not even become a political entity, succumb to the 1968 Gun Control Act and leave to New Mexico and become a hunting organization, which was what the leadership was planning to do in 1977. So Neil Knox successfully organized with Harlan Carter and some others the idea of the NRA being a powerful enough national level entity to have influence with politicians, and that through awareness and understanding of political issues, they could have some influence and some use. And that was the beginning of the ILA, the Institute for Legal Action, I believe it's called, something like that. And Harlan was the first president. Neil was the next president, I think, or maybe one of the first presidents. And it was Neil whose his willingness and eagerness to challenge the 1968 Gun Control Act and the negative parts of, well, the negative part of the 86 Gun Owners Protection Act and other issues was the things that got Wayne LaPierre to bring Charlton Heston in to hold up his rifle and say, "From my cold dead hands," in order to get rid of Neil from the NRA. So when Charlton Heston is saying, "From my cold dead hands," and whatever, you always see the quote from whatever 90 or from 2012. But when he first joined the NRA to be president, it was to get rid of Neil. So Neil has passed. He was a writer for a long time, a political person, a lobbyist, and then a writer. And his writings were in the Shotgun News, a periodical that came out twice a month for a long, long time. And his sons, Chris and Jeff, have put together the book, The Gun Rights War, which is a compilation of a bunch of his articles. And yeah, that's Neil Knox in a nutshell. And Minuteman University is the project that it started at the coffee table at Charles Heller here in Tucson. When I went to the Gun Rights Policy Conference in 2015, I not only became a life member of the Arizona Citizens Defense League, but I also became their media person, free of charge. I said, "Hey, you guys need a media person? I'll do that free of charge." And in 2015, I was not insignificant in my role in the community. It's definitely a larger portion of the community than I am now. And I was able and willing to help them with their social media. So I went over to Charles's house and we started to collaborate and started to work on how I could be effective to do that. And one of the things we came up with was the idea of having a online resource to provide awareness, to provide consistent knowledge so that we could move on from the problems that we have or the issues that come up from lack of awareness, lack of knowledge, or inconsistent definitions. So we came up with the idea of Minuteman University being a place where people who wanted to be the Minuteman, right, the modern day Minuteman, not necessarily picking up arms, but able to have useful conversations with both gun owners and those who have some issue with our property or our ability to own the property, and to have effective communication, conversations, not just win arguments by shouting louder, but instead stifle any further argument by creating awareness and an understanding which makes it impossible for the rich antis to exploit the ignorance and bring people together against us. So to those ends, we came up with the theory of Minuteman University, and then the Arizona Citizens Defense League decided that they didn't need to do anything like that, that they had other issues going on with Arizona, and they were successful doing their things. And I said, "Okay, fine. If you're not going to do it, I'm going to do it." And they said, "Okay, fine." So then it was no longer anything to do with the Arizona Citizens Defense League. And since, like I say, I have people on Patreon who make it possible for me to do this without even thinking, I started to build Minuteman University. So now Minuteman University is the results of 8 years worth of research and projects, and it's an archive of all the organizations and laws, and it's essentially a resource for Second Amendment activists, a place to learn and get information. So kind of a Minuteman University in a long nutshell there. So again, thanks for the $5 super chat, and there you go.
Let's see. So Clover saying I love Neil. I could listen to stories from back in the day forever. Let's see. I got one of those cool Godzilla mugs. Oh, you mean the ones with Mecha Godzilla? So one of the things I did a long time ago was make a bunch of illustrations, and I was doing the robots, and I started off with Mecha Godzilla because he's awesome, and then I had Ed 209, and there was like a couple of other ones that are big, and I started to wonder what would it look like if Ed 209 was standing next to Mecha Godzilla. So I went and figured it all out and put it all into Adobe Illustrator with correct scale, and went everything from the spiders in Runaway, the little robot spiders in Runaway, through R2D2 and everybody normal, through like the Cylons and Battlestar Galactica and like Ed 209 from RoboCop, and then a bunch of other ones, and stuck them all next to each other, sort of like in the lineup if you were, trying to figure out the suspects in a crime or whatever. I have them all in this lineup where you can see the relative heights, and 99% of them are the size of a human, except for those little tiny ones, and except for the really big ones. So I made a illustration of that and then stuck it on a mug just to do it. It looks basically like a bunch of little dots and a Mecha Godzilla, but it's really a bunch of robots and a Mecha Godzilla. But thanks for buying that, because I think, again, those mugs are like, I think I set everything at the print on demands. I set everything to be a $5 profit. So you can, I guess I didn't finish with the thing back there. Whenever you do print on demand, you set the profit. So you can set it to be $1, you can set it to be $0, you could set it to be $100, you could set it to be $10. So I usually set everything to be $5, and that's a way to get print $5 bills, is to encourage people to buy t-shirts, I guess. So Gunmetal is saying thanks for the info. Got a lot to marinate on. Right on. That's the point. I don't have to be here live for these, especially on a Tuesday morning. It doesn't work for everybody, but yeah, if you're able to listen after the fact. And if you're listening after the fact, feel free to leave comments. That's one of the ways that we have like a time-shifted conversation with people each week. There's Chris from the 740. He'll be live tomorrow afternoon or evening. Let's see. New York Outcast says, "Hi, I'm the piss off guy. Stay in your lane." I don't know what you mean. I missed that one. That's the problem with lag. A bunch of people saying hey to Chris. And, well, 9mm is a fad. It knows it. Everybody knows it. There's Mr. Knives. Good afternoon. Let's see. Clover Tax saying some of us are far more civilized and sit around smoking a pipe while we pay attention to what everyone is doing. All right, it's true. Mississippi Thunder joining us. Good afternoon. DJ joining us. Oh, then he left, I guess. Foss is saying a while back there were churches that made leaflets that look like folded $20 bills. They put them all over. Oh man, those things happen in Vegas all the time. They're not churches always. I mean, they might be, but that's definitely a tactic, right? To have a folded $20 bill thing. You okay, puppy? What's happening? Is there a mouse in here? I think we got to get some mouse traps. I think the puppy just seen a mouse. Knives is bringing coffee and donuts. It turns out Mr. Knives knew you were going to be watching. Are you all right, puppy? He is freaking out. What are you looking at, buddy? Came in here. Is there a bat in here or something? He's looking up at the ceiling. What is it? Go kill it if it's something in here. What's going on? Yeah, he's with us. Maybe he's ate a pill or something. He's acting goofy. So Mr. Knives brought coffee and donuts for everybody. So if you're interested, Mr. Knives brought coffee. Look underneath of your chairs. There'll be a hot cup of coffee down there for Mr. Knives. Puppy, what's wrong? I should get the webcam on him. He's freaking out. He's freaking out like in the way that you'd freak out if a mountain lion like walked into your house and climbed up on the cabinets or something. He's looking up in the air, kind of terrified. And Mellow's trying to figure out why he's so terrified of that thing. Nope, she left. Anyhow, let's see. Cuck is saying we used to make quarter soldered to roofing nails so you could hammer into boardwalks. Fun, but someone with a multi-tool eventually gets them. Oh, that's interesting. I've seen people glue stuff. And I don't know what the deal is now, but people are, I don't think it's hot glue. It's some kind of foam. So it's probably a Gorilla Glue mix of two-part epoxy or something. But somebody glued pennies to all these rocks everywhere. And I only noticed because I usually let my dog jump up on the rocks when we're walking places where there's a big giant rock. And somebody glued pennies to all of them. So I don't know if that's some weird thing, something. That's like some gang thing that's happening now. Is that for the drugs? Can you personalize the fake money to represent your YouTube channel instead of business cards? Well, you could, but the stuff we're talking about, that Clover's talking about, is like pennies for $100,000 packet. It's not very much money because it's really, really thin. I'm sure you've seen paper money before. They make it unusually thin so that it can't be mistaken for regular money. So it's very, very inexpensive, but it's already printed. I'm assuming you can get it probably from the printer or something, but like I say, you probably know more about that. Let's see, everybody's saying hi to each other, and then one of my favorite of kid hunt on a mug while getting a refreshment. Right on. Right on. Well, again, thanks everybody for joining us. I definitely have to leave. I was expecting to go live for an hour and turned into 2, but it was worth it. Thanks for the $5 super chat. And there was also a $2 super chat. So I will definitely appreciate the $7. I will get back to it. For those of you who know what's going on, and for those of you that don't, hey, you can't always win everything. You gotta do what you can do. I encourage you to be part of what's going on out there instead of standing around. Value your voice. You can be effective as any role in the internet today. There's need and necessity for all different kinds of players out there, all different kinds of participants. Don't let anybody tell you that this is what works and that don't. This is all in flux. This is all a learning experience for all of us. It's an opportunity. It's a lot of fun. We live in a really good time. We have more available to us that so many people don't appreciate, that take for granted, and stop for a moment. Hopefully the show is helping you to do that. Realize when we live and what we have available to us and how much we can be part of the evolution, the development of this stuff. I can guarantee you individuals have more influence than they can imagine today than we ever did before. It was very difficult for people in our grandparents' generation to do anything individually that would be significant enough to be a part of history that's recorded that they had influence in a part of history. I mean, it happened constantly. Somebody punched an astronaut as a baby in the face, and that created that part of that astronaut's personality that got that person to the moon or something. These things happened, but we live in a time when that stuff is archived. That when that astronaut has that interview and says, oh, it was somebody in 3rd grade that punched me in the nose that inspired me to do this. Well, now these kids have pictures of themselves punching each other in the nose in 3rd grade. So we live in a time when it's possible to backwards research or identify, the instigations of stuff. So we've always had influence. Now it's more possible than ever to understand and to realize that influence. You can either take my word for it or go challenge me and study some, research some of it. But we live in a great time. There's awesome stuff happening right now. There's lots of people that are getting smashed and wailed on, and that can be frustrating. And they have all the right in the world to complain about it. It doesn't mean they're right or wrong, but there's more than that going on in the world. So we'll be better off when we understand what each other are going through and can redivert resources to assist each other. But we want to do that short of becoming communists or fascists by demanding that someone knows what needs to be done and therefore has the authorization to do it. Wait, am I doing this wrong? August 22nd. Oh, I set it up for tomorrow. So is there a Cape Gunworks today, or am I crazy? I guess there isn't a Cape Gunworks today. That doesn't make any sense. So they set up tomorrow's show. I guess they're doing the I don't know. They got it set up weird. I don't know if they got it set up for the right time or not. I think it should be going live in an hour or so. So if they got the time wrong, it's going to send you to the right show, or I got it mixed up and it's going to send you to tomorrow's show. But either way, we'll end this thing. Come here, puppy. What is wrong with you? Now he's looking out the front door. Come here. Come here. Mello is out back. Come here. Come here. Come here. I think he ate a pill. Come here. What do you want, the drugs? Somebody give you some drugs out the door? One of them door-to-door drug peddlers gave him some drugs through the door or something. He's being crazy. But we'll give him some ASMR puppy rubbing. There you go. There's your co-host Snorts to end the show. Pat on the belly. A couple of kissies, and then he's off and running again. He's freaking out. So thanks everybody for joining us. Next week's will be better. I'm assuming Clover will come back at some point and do the show. Otherwise, we'll strip off all that Clover stuff off of here, and we'll just keep doing this as the we don't need Clover show. One way or the other, we'll be back next week. Everybody have a great weekend, a great week, and we'll throw a commercial out here. That's probably a good way to end this thing.
GearWebsites.com is your source for firearms-based playing cards and books. We also have mugs, shirts, and posters with designs that we've made live. Of course, we have patches. Every Friday is Free Patch Friday. We appreciate your support. Thank you for shopping at GearWebsites.com.
There might not be a bat in here. That's all I'm saying. Going to having dogs if they let bats in here.